Asia has always had a fascinating hold on the imagination of the West. It's a brilliant palette of peoples, faiths, and cultures. Asia is delicately balancing its economic boom with its proud customs and ancient rituals. Asia owns a stunning kaleidoscope of cultures, deeply planted in tradition. Asia is serene and peaceful, and eclectic and resilient. And it's one of the most exotic places on Earth. Asia is enormous in size and scope. It extends all the way from the Pacific Rim to India and on to Russia and further west. From the Great Wall, which extends a mind-boggling 5,500 miles over the southern edge of the Mongolian plain, to the tallest mountain peaks in the world, including Mount Everest, and to breathtaking deserts such as the magical Gobi. Asia is comprised of countless tribes and ethnic nationalities, deities and gods, and ancient dynasties. Asia is an immense land with an indescribable mosaic of diversity, and oftentimes a fusion of mysterious cultures that are rooted in traditions unlike anywhere in the world. Traveling around the world, especially to remote places, can be a little bit different than what we're used to.
In many places around the world, cars are just too expensive. So riding your bike may be your only means of transportation.
And because many workers have no trucks to transport their goods, they must rely on carts to carry them.
Here in China, sometimes getting a lift on a rickshaw is the way to go.
In desert countries, camels are instrumental modes of transport because they can withstand hot, dry conditions better than anyone or anything.
Taking a taxi in Thailand can get you a ride in a three-wheel tuk-tuk.
Some communities are built on and next to the water, so you must take a boat to get around.
Other places are tucked into the marshes and wetlands that require some tricky navigating.
Here in Pyongyang, North Korea, the subway is an opulent, spotless metro, adorned with marble walls, chandeliers, and hand-painted murals. And many people get around by foot. Here in Nepal, your lungs will get a workout because of the thin air in the high altitudes. Some of the most exciting places on Earth are World Heritage Sites that preserve their significant cultural and natural heritage.
India's Taj Mahal is one of the most magnificent masterpieces and love stories in the world. It was built by Shah Jahan in 1632 to pay tribute to his wife, who died during the birth of their 14th child.
The most famous of all Cambodia's historic sites is Angkor Wat, one of the ancient wonders of the world. 3 million blocks of mostly sandstone were used to build this cultural home of the Khmer people. The cultural heritage of the Kathmandu Valley is illustrated by 7 groups of area monuments and buildings. One of them is the Buddha Stupa of Swayambhu.
The Moscow Kremlin contains within its walls a unique series of famous 13th century architecture, including the colorful and ornate St. Basil.
As the center of Japanese culture for more than 1,000 years, Kyoto illustrates the development of Japanese architecture and the art of Japanese gardens, which has influenced landscape gardening the world over.
Luong Prabong in Laos is an outstanding example of the blend of traditional architecture with those built by the Europeans here in the 19th and 20th centuries.
The Potala, the magnificent centerpiece of Lhasa, Tibet, was constructed in the 7th century as the winter palace of the Dalai Lama. It symbolizes Tibetan Buddhism and the central role in this culture.
People around the world live in all kinds of communities. Their backyards oftentimes reflect these different environments.
The expansive Gobi Desert has served as a backyard to many Mongolians for thousands of years. These massive dunes are over 2,600 feet high, 7 miles wide, and 62 miles long.
This trout farm just outside the DMZ in North Korea is part of a large agricultural backyard. The sign says, "Long live the great leader." Inle Lake in Myanmar, formerly called Burma, is home to thousands of people whose backyards are water villages where their homes are built on stilts. The view of the Himalayan mountains is spectacular from the backyards of those who live here in Nepal.
In China, construction seems to take place overnight. This backyard is being dug up to make room for a new road.
Many Asians practice Tai Chi, meditation in motion, connecting the mind and body. This man is enjoying Tai Chi in the serenity of his backyard.
This young bride in India is preparing for her wedding ceremony in her backyard.
This man's backyard overlooks the peaceful hillsides of Bhutan, a fiercely independent country that will take from the West only what it needs to remain self-sufficient and in order to preserve its traditions. And this little guy has a very protected backyard. Pandas are considered a national treasure in China. The giant panda is under threat from logging, agriculture, and rapid urbanization. They have huge appetites, and most of their diet is a certain species of bamboo. There are all kinds of jobs around the world that are performed by every member of the family.
Here in Thailand, this woman is selling her fruits and vegetables at the floating market.
In too many places around the world, children are pulled out of school to help their families at home or to work in the fields.
These women are cooks at a collective farm in Krasnodar, Russia. Prior to the breakup of the Soviet Union, farms were organized in order to increase their food supply.
Artists like this man in Japan find inspiration and beauty from nature.
India is regarded as a high-tech country, but the majority of its workforce is in agriculture. Women work hard in the fields, carrying huge weights on their heads.
While this barber may not have a shop, He gets the job done in the streets.
This fisherman in Guilin, China is relying on the help of a cormorant to catch fish. These birds have strings tied around their necks to trap fish they catch in their throats.
In Asia, dominant empires were influenced by the Silk Road and by new religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism. Prayer flags are common in many Himalayan Buddhist countries. Prayer flags promote peace, compassion, and wisdom, and they include prayers for long life and good fortune.
Hinduism is the world's oldest religion and the largest religion in India with 1 billion followers.
Shintoism is the indigenous spirituality of the Japanese people. It aims to establish a connection between present-day Japan and its ancient past.
Islam began in Asia in the 7th century. About a quarter of the world's population is Muslim, and nearly 2/3 of them live in Asia.
Taoism places an emphasis on the unity of the universe, the material world and the spiritual world, as well as the unity of the past, present, and future. The core of Confucianism is being humane, focusing on the cultivation of virtue and the maintenance of ethics. Many countries in Asia do not practice organized religion. North Korea is officially an atheist state and sees religious activity as a potential challenge to its leadership and strict ideology.
The Chinese government, which implemented state atheism in 1949, is now taking positive steps towards religious freedom.
Asia is rich with fascinating customs and rituals. This woman in Myanmar is sporting some pretty interesting earrings.
The Bhutanese people see the spiritual mask dance as an extension of their religious and social lives, because the movement reflects compassion, tolerance, and harmony.
Here in a remote village on the western Burmese border, the Mun Chin tribe combines dance with storytelling and fortune-telling. Many of their rituals guide their decision-making. The women in this village are also famous for their facial tattoos, an extraordinary 11th century custom where some maiden girls tattooed and disfigured their faces to protect them from slavery or capture by the ruling princes.
Here in India, before the wedding ceremony, the groom is arriving by horseback to be presented to his bride.
Chortens or stupas are commonly found in the Himalayan mountains. They are typically circular structures that are created to protect against negative energies and to simply bring joy and good fortune.
Incense in China is used to nourish the spirit. We use it in religious ceremonies, traditional medicine, and worshiping our ancestors.
The spectacular mass games are held annually in North Korea and feature more than 100,000 young performers in perfectly synchronized gymnastics, acrobatics, song, dance, and martial arts. Mongolians honor the shamanistic spirits on the hills and high points of the landscape where you'll find ovus, which are like Buddhist chortens. Piles of stones, blue silk strands, and prayer flags honor the spirits.
Half of all Mongolians today are still nomadic herders, living in gears as they have for thousands of years. These nomads need to move from place to place throughout the year for greener pastures, and they can easily dismantle a gear in under 45 minutes.
Tanaka is like a cosmetic that is applied mostly by girls throughout Myanmar. This age-old practice cools and refreshes the skin and is also worn as a sunscreen. Young people all over the world must chip in and work to help their families. Even these little kids have the responsibility of taking care of their younger siblings.
In Beijing, China, this young boy enjoys wearing a military hat just like his father's.
Here in Vietnam, these kids are beginning their school day with exercises. And kids everywhere love posing for pictures, like this eclectic group of youngsters outside their school in Tibet.
This homeless woman in Russia is struggling without the support of her family.
These women in Yunnan, China needed a break from work, so a card game was in order.
Gifted kids in North Korea, including those whose talent lies in music and the arts, are groomed, trained, and supported to perfection by the government. In Nepal, families struggle in the higher altitudes. Half the children are malnourished and underweight, and half the people are jobless. There is no simple way to describe this massive continent. It's just too diverse. And each intriguing country has its own unique identity. America today is a colorful medley of cultures from every corner of the earth, and many are from Asia. Everywhere we go, whether it's to the grocery store, or the classroom, or the office, or the airport, we find people from all over the world. And many are from places we know very little about. We enjoy their languages and their food, and their music and art. As America's cultural landscape evolves, we have an exceptional opportunity to learn about people from other lands who can teach us about their families, their schools, their traditions, and their everyday life. We have a front row seat to better understand how these amazing cultures impact our big blue planet, our hometown communities, and our very own lives. This diversity makes Asia one of the most fascinating regions in the world. And as we learn together to appreciate each other's similarities, as well as our differences, we're all the richer for it.